Welcome to What's the Word? I'm your host, Jaime McFaden, and I'm so excited to have you here. This podcast is about all things wellness. Each week, we will focus on a word of the day, and I interview some of the most inspirational people I know and share that inspiration with you. Join me, let's learn together on What's the Word.
This is the place where I belong.
Alrighty, welcome back to What's the Word? I'm your host, Jaime McFaden, and today we are going to dive into some beautiful spiritual chat. Yes, you heard me correctly. We have a very special guest here, someone that I have felt very drawn to for a long time. She's inspired me through the internet and multiple friends that we have in common, and yet we hadn't met until this very moment. And I feel a very calm, peaceful energy knowing that this is the moment we are supposed to be in right here, right now. So I'm going to share with you Melanie Joy. She is a women's transformational coach, a somatic healer. She is in the process of publishing, I think, your first book, is it?
Yeah.
And she's here to talk with us today about mature feminine leadership. So it's 3 words: mature feminine leadership. Melanie Joy, thank you so much for being here. And let's dive right in. What does mature feminine leadership mean to you?
Well, yeah, what a big concept to hold, right? And we live in a very masculine society, and our mothers lived in a masculine society, and our mothers' lived in a masculine society. So what is the essence of mature feminine leadership? What does that feel like in our body? We can break it down all the way down to the words. Mature, ma comes from the mother in Sanskrit language. Ma is mother. Nature, the natural form of the mother. This is in alignment with like the great mother, the great cosmic mother, or earth is mother underneath our feet. Mature is really the natural state of the mother, uninhibited by the masculine society, in alignment with the earth beneath our feet, the goddess above, but most importantly, the inner mother qualities that we can cultivate within that are in alignment with matrilineal societies that existed way prior, 200,000 years ago, prior to patriarchal societies. Mm-hmm. So it's fascinating to me that the patriarchal society started only 5,000 years ago. And that's what we see in the history books. Yeah. But there's this whole lineage of matrilineal societies that's really our organic wisdom in our body that we have the ability to tap into. So mature, feminine. What is feminine? Feminine is energy, right? Like feminine energy lives within the male identifying humans and the female identifying humans, right? It is non-binary as far as gender. We all have this energy within us. If you came from a mother, you can tap into the mother within your own body. It's really simple. And everybody came from a mother. So we know what this energy feels like. I'm not saying you had the best mother, but I am saying you did come from that mother, and that energy lives within no matter what. And then leadership is definitely more of like a communal based leadership, right? Back to the tribe, back to the feminine essence of leadership in the matrilineal societies. So long story short, it is the great mother, the essence of the great mother. And where do we even, and then we get into the question, okay, well, what is the mother? What are the attributes of the mother? What are the energies of the mother, that live within? And I really feel like it's time as a society to really deep dive into identifying what these attributes actually are outside of the conditioning that our mothers and our mothers' mothers and our mothers, and our fathers, of course, all of us all had. What does it look like in its essence? And so for me, it's really a matter of if the feminine is going to take humanity to higher states of consciousness, which that's a whole nother topic, but that is basically proven to be true. You can look on my Instagram and see quotes from Deepak Chopra that even claim this to be true. If you don't believe me, believe him. He's a man, So my approach is that if the feminine is going to take us to higher states of consciousness, and remember, the feminine is an energy within us all, right. Then we can tap into what Carl Jung says, the feminine collective consciousness and the archetypes that live within. So, my job, I feel, when pulling apart or even just raising the question, what is mature feminine leadership? I
Mhm.
really look to the archetypes that live in the collective conscious of the maiden, the mother, and the crone.
Ooh, are we going to dive into this today?
I would love to.
Okay, so everybody, get this. We are here with Melanie. You're speaking right now, Melanie, I am not exaggerating when I say I've had this beautiful flow of chills throughout my body. I'm
Mhm.
literally in the process of writing about spirituality just today, even before this call, not really knowing exactly what we were going to talk about. But interestingly enough, some of the things that I was researching, reading, writing were just about the divine masculine, the divine feminine. So before we get into the archetypes, can you do me a favor and kind of just give a little base level foundation of the difference of the masculine and feminine energies that are within all of us?
Absolutely. So, we in our essence are androgynous creatures. We have masculine energy, we have feminine energy. And under these energies that live within us, um, carry certain attributes, right? And both are super beneficial in life. And both have shadowy aspects and light
Mhm.
aspects, right? So when you get into the masculine energies in our body, it is very much top up. Let's look at it that, like
Okay.
neck up, right? It's very analytical, it's very strategic, it's execution, it's basically creation that is linear and has an end goal in sight, and all of the
Right.
attributes that get us there, right? Where when we talk about the feminine, it's a very different energy, and just the feminine as a creative energy is very cyclic. It's
Mm.
not linear. There's no end goal. It's kind of that Ouroboros of life that turns in on itself. It's the
Mm.
seasonal changes of life. It's summer, spring, winter, and fall. It's the 24 hours of the day, right? It's your
Yeah.
seasonal changes of life, even throughout the year. But what else lives in the feminine energy is nurturing, it is receiving, she is magnetic, she attracts, she's that unconditional love, she's regenerative, she
Mm.
is actually chaos. Where
Mhm.
structure lives in the masculine, the feminine is chaos, because within chaos is, well, what do we all do from our bodies? We birth, right? Like, it's also death and it's also rebirth, and every day we go through these little deaths and rebirths and the chaos that that entails. And that's a feminine energy. Whereas the masculine is going to be very structured, linear, execution, analytical, logical. It's the known. Whereas the
Mhm.
feminine is the mystical aspects of the unknown. And
Right.
this is where, and this is kind of, this is where miracles occur in the end.
Yeah.
What is a miracle? It's something out of our human capacity to perceive. It's divine intervention, right?
Right.
It's like the void of creation. Um, it's unexplainable. And there's
Mhm.
some magic that occurs there. And that's why it's so important for us to, we go through our daily lives, right? And we have schedules and we have budgets and we have meetings and we have calls and we have all of these known things that we need to do. But if we're allowing space for miracles to occur in our life, then we have to have the aspect of the unknown also available to us. Give yourself
Right.
space. This is feminine. Give yourself space. The void of creation is feminine. Um,
Yeah. Well, wow, that was what a way to put that so clear and really just, I think for anyone watching or listening right there, that if they haven't noticed or realized that we have both of these energies within us, are
mhm,
all of us,
mhm.
regardless, it doesn't mean this means this and you only have this. It's we have both of these, and the way that you just really put that together, I think is just so clear. And it also makes me want to remind people that, you know, they are both good, and they also, like you said, have
Mhm.
ways that they can be out of whack or out of balance. And I know that, for many of us, like myself, growing up in a society where we're pushed and we glorify not sleeping and working
Yeah.
as hard as you can and driving yourself, into the ground, and don't take your vacation days, even though you get all these vacation days, or, go, 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 go. we can often lose sight of the feminine.
Yeah. And that's the perpetual doing of the masculine
Mhm.
versus the being of the feminine.
Yeah.
The feminine is very much all receiving everything as it is. She's here, she's here, she's holding, she's nurturing, regenerative. So the feminine is this being nature, and the masculine is this perpetual doing, which is very much in alignment with the patriarchal society that we live in today.
Yeah.
So what fascinates me is, um, here's where we get mixed up.
Yeah.
Patriarchy actually, the system that we live in actually suppresses the full aspect of the masculine, as well as it suppresses the fullness of the feminine. So this is not to say that the patriarchy is just not working for the feminine. That's not what the case is. The patriarchy is actually not working for the masculine, and it's also not working for the feminine. There's a lot of suppressed masculine within our capitalistic colonialism, like all of these
Right.
attributes of our society as well.
Certainly.
It's not bad. I mean, it is what it is, right? This is feminine. It is what it
Yeah.
is. But is this where we want to be as a society as a whole anymore? We can talk about systems and structures and how they seem to be working or not working. I just really feel like we've been in this masculine state of leadership for so long. It's
Mhm.
time to balance out.
Yeah.
It's time to remember ourselves and the feminine essence of our leadership as well. Because
Yeah.
again, in wholeness, we're androgynous creatures. So also in society, we've been heavy on this side, and it's time to balance out with the feminine. With
Oh,
maturity and
so
leadership.
beautiful. And I am fairly certain that those that are listening to this right now are able to take a moment, and I would love for everyone to do this, to take a moment, to take a breath, close your eyes if you're not driving, and just acknowledge where you are in this moment within your masculine and feminine. Where are you? And is there something? And I think Melanie has a lot of great resources, even on her website, where we can find ways to tap into and enhance both, to cultivate a better flow. And is there anything that you can share before we get into the archetypes? Is there anything that you can share right now that just ties into that? Because I'm certain that there's someone listening right now going, man, like I know when I've been in my feminine too much, I felt, if I was too much in it, I felt chaotic, I felt lost or stuck, or out of control in a way, or like I didn't really have that purpose.
Maybe a little
Um,
flowy, a little too flowy.
yeah, yeah. I
Not
was like the
under
epitome of the most
structure.
free-spirited person
Mhm.
that anyone knew around me, and then kind of flip-flopped and went the opposite. The pendulum went like, we're going the other way now. And it's taken years to really, and I think for the rest of my life, personally, I will continue to work towards kind of creating that unity between both of them. But for someone listening right now that's taking that moment to go, okay, I see where I'm at, because I think awareness is really key for anyone that listens to the podcast. I always bring up, like, just meet yourself where you are, and with awareness, and shine the light on, even if it is the dark spot,
Mhm.
um, and know just where you are. So for those that are listening, what would you say if someone right now is listening going, all right, I want to shift either into more of my divine feminine or divine masculine? What's like one simple thing that someone could do
Could
for
do.
either way?
Yeah. Well, go on my website. Like, sorry to plug it, but go on my
Yes.
website. And so, first of all, I just want to say you're absolutely right. According to Jungian philosophy, it's just a game. It's just a matter of bringing the unconscious to conscious, so we can choose different if that so suits us, right? We don't want 90% of our behaviors are running from subconscious reactivity. And what we want to do is bring that subconscious reactivity to the conscious state, so we can start responding from a conscious state.
Mhm.
And that's really this work, is to go from an immature place of reactivity to a mature state of responsiveness. The mother responds. So as far as, and what is key to this, it's so critical. Like, language is linear and it's a construct. At the same time, it helps us identify within
Mhm.
ourselves where we're out of whack, because it's subconscious and we're not even noticing,
Right.
to that conscious responsive state. So on my website, I actually I actually have a mini course. It's like $20, literally, like so cheap. I don't even care. It could be free. If you can't afford the $20, message me and I'll give it to you. Like, this is how instrumental this material has been in my life. And it's called The Roadmap to Masculine Feminine Attributes. And it calls out what is masculine and what is shadow masculine versus light masculine. And then it calls out what is feminine and what is out of balance feminine versus balanced feminine. And it's really just a matter of bringing these attributes to a conscious state so we can choose to respond versus react.
Wonderful. So we're going to be sharing your website, but can you just say it right now in case someone happens to be listening and they're like at their computer or on their phone, like I'm doing this right now?
Yeah, it's themelaniejoyspeaks.com. Just scroll down. You'll see 2 mini courses. One is the roadmap to masculine feminine attributes, and the other is attributes of divine creation as it relates to masculine creation versus feminine creation. We talked a little bit about that about 5-10 minutes ago.
Right.
So I would definitely recommend just getting the masculine attributes first, and then the aspects of divine creation just went live last week.
Wonderful.
So as you cultivate the patience and the receiving qualities of the mother within, listen to one course and then give it time to sink into the knowing of your body. Right? We want to get past the logical aspects of our mind in this material. And we really want to unlock the intrinsic wisdom that lives in our body. And sometimes we hear things and it stays in our mind for a little while. Give it some time, let it sink in to the wisdom of the body, and then go on to the next course around attributes of divine creation. And it's a mother quality, patience.
Patience is a mother quality for sure. Yes, it is. And now, speaking of that, I know that you and I, one thing that we have in common is we both have kids and we are moms in this human form. We are moms here. So can you just share a little bit about your story?
Oh, sure.
Of what led you here? Because I know when it comes to spirituality in general, it's very fascinating, not just to me, but I think to many, to be able to expand our mind enough to ask questions. Why, how, who am I? All those things. So yeah, I would love to hear. And if you could share your story.
Yeah. And it's also, this is where I'm at with mature feminine leadership as well, is like having the courage to stay in the question, having the courage to be in the question, because often we want to ask a question and we don't like the answer and we run the other way. And that's what I did for a long time. Speaking of my story, right? I guess just off the top, I had my daughter when I was 18. She's now in college. So that's been a long road with a lot of learnings and a lot of lessons and a lot of viscerally felt experiences in mother, right? Because again, all of these archetypes are just energies. Mother is an energy. You don't have to be a mother to be in mother, but I was also blessed to be in mother at a very young age as well. So that kind of kicked off my sink or swim and perpetual doing of my own tyrannical masculine in my life, to be the head of household, the corporate job. I have a large background in corporate life. So the reason that I preach this material is because I've lived it. And the first half of my life, I would say the first 30 years, I was in my perpetual tyrannical masculine, climbing the corporate ladder. I study the lineage of Marion Woodman, where a lot of this material comes from. And there's a book called The Heroine's Journey by Maureen Murdoch. And we could have a whole call on that separately.
Yes. Part 2.
Yeah, part 2. But if any women are in their masculine and just knowing that something needs to change, read this book, The Heroine's Journey by Maureen Murdoch. That's where I started to realize that I was done with that way of living. I was just done with that. I was feeling dead inside. There was no more ladders to climb. I just didn't have it in me. And I knew there had to be another way. And that's when I really started uncovering what we can refer to as the heroine's journey. Whereas the hero's journey, as Joseph Campbell coins it, is very much the outward expression of life. The heroine's journey is very much the inward deep dive into the cave of our body to rediscover the pieces of our feminine that we have suppressed within. Wow. So that we can find a more balanced nature. So I'm off on a tangent again. You can tell how much I love this material.
It's beautiful and brilliant, and which is why I'm like, let's just keep going. I just want, so, and continue on with your story, because it is, I think, for anyone that's listening right now, and I know it resonated very, very quickly, immediately with me. When I had my daughter, I didn't anticipate being a single mom. And then it was like, oh, okay, well, this is happening. So had to make a lot of decisions quickly and steadfast, and, same kind of thing. So there wasn't really, I didn't see a choice. It was like, well, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to take responsibility. I'm going to, do the best I can. And at the same time, it's taken a lot of time to be able to look back, reflect upon, and say, okay, now I can kind of flow more or go into the feminine. So just hearing you say that, I feel like even just myself, it's nice to hear that, we aren't alone. That reminder that we aren't alone.
Yeah. And it was very much, like I said, sink or swim mentality. And what does that mean? Well, that's very much survival mode, right? That I was living in a perpetual state of survival mode, of this sink or swim mentality. And I never sank, right? And that really fed my ego. Like, okay, I can really do this in survival mode. But what the shift was like, how do I go from survival to a state of just surviving to a state of thriving, right? And this is also just primal conditioning of us as human beings, as species. We needed survival mode for the evolution of the species, but like we're kind of not being chased by lions anymore. So like, how can we stop surviving as if something is like, killing us? And I'm sure there are these situations still very much present in the world today. So I do have awareness and empathy for that. But here, a lot of us, I just wanted to stop surviving and I wanted to start thriving. And that is literally a perspective shift. Like a perspective shift. So, but in that perspective shift, I had to rip it all apart. I mean, I had to excavate everything, everyone in my life, every story, the people, the places, the things, the stories, the programs, the jobs, the lover, like you name it. Send my daughter off to college. I had to excavate my daughter and create a new relationship dynamic with her, right? From parent to child to adult. But so it's not necessarily the path for the faint of hearts, but I will say, if you are hoping to get more into a perspective of thriving in life versus surviving in life, it is worth it.
Absolutely.
And now staying in the question and asking.
Yeah, and you radiate this just talking to you right now, but also through, your social channels, through the material that you put out there. It's clear how devoted, passionate, excited you are about this. And I think for someone listening, it's really nice to know that, maybe it wasn't always the case, like you just said, for you, where you had to make that perspective shift. And oftentimes that is what it comes down to. And when we talk about mature feminine leadership, I want to strive to be in that, to be a part of that, to celebrate that. So can you tell me now, or tell us about the archetypes?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. We'll briefly get into it. We as women, so we're maidens, right? And the maiden is a beautiful archetype. The maiden is, the waxing of the moon. She's springtime. She's the bud, right? The bud that is waiting to bloom, right? The bloom would be mother, but the bud would be maiden. She's courageous. She's adventurous. She's daring. She's literally curiosity. She's the seed of life where genius lives. So there's some fantastic attributes of the maiden. But what happens in this masculine society where the male lens is very prevalent in all of our lives as women is that we get stuck in maiden. We've been robbed of rites of passages through the transition from the matriarchy to the patriarchy. And men too. Again, don't want to leave them out. We're all in this together, but we've been robbed of rites of passage where an elder used to take a young woman who started her menstruating cycle and welcome her into the mystical land of intuition and creation, right? Now, what do? We silence our menstrual cycles. We are conditioned under the male lens to remain forever young. We stop welcoming the wisdom of aging into our bodies. We get the Botox and the lip fillers and the eyelashes and the nails, and by no means, there's nothing wrong with this. And I've done it all, and whatever makes you feel good, fine. But as long as it's like from a place of wholeness versus a program that you've been given.
Yeah.
So the maiden, what happens in the patriarchy is that she's conditioned to remain forever young, to silence her intuition. The power of the feminine is the emotional body. And what happens in the workplace? You leave your emotions at the door. That is suppressing our innate power as women. That is suppressing the maiden. That is keeping her kind of stuck in this bubble of forever young. And the magic occurs for women, like we're literally late bloomers. It's the crone and the sage. Like for women, our power is through the aging process. That's where we gain our wisdom, and our emotional body and our intuitiveness, right? So the maiden is such a fantastic, beautiful young woman. But as all seasons come to an end, we have to continue to grow and welcome those seasonal changes. And that's when we start transitioning into mother, transitioning into crone, into sage, all of those wisdom keepers at a later age. But if we're 40-year-olds still, or 50-year-olds still in maiden, that means that we're not welcoming that process.
Yeah.
And then what starts to happen? Well, she keeps seeking out for validation. Instead of transitioning to the inward journey of her own validation, of her own knowing. Daughters of fathers is what we would call it, whereas the fathers just literally represent the patriarchal society. So we're daughters of fathers who don't come into bloom. And how sad is that? So where women get stuck in the cultural narrative of forever young, to stay small and meek, and silence our voices, and stay pretty and stay polite. And the power, again, of the feminine is not necessarily pretty and polite. Again, she's chaos and death and rebirth, right? And so then we can get into the archetype of the mother, right? Because the archetype of the mother, now this can get really gritty too, but I actually work with 5 archetypes under the mother.
Wow.
And there is the cherishing mother, who's this unconditional love. There is the death mother, who is really doing the bidding on behalf of the patriarchy. Sorry, my cat's here. I don't know if you can.
I love it. I was just going to say, it sounds like a really cute cat.
Yeah,
she's using her voice.
Gets loud when she doesn't see her brother. So the mother, I work with the cherishing mother, the death mother, the dark mother, the inner mother, and then the great mother. And this is a progression on a journey to wholeness of cultivating the mother within. Because when we can hold ourselves in mother, we can hold the world in mother.
Yeah.
And right now we are a society unmothered. Yeah. Because we were all raised by mothers in the same masculine conditioning that we're all in right now. And I think what shifted a lot of healing for me, because I had things with my mother, we didn't have the best relationship. I don't think anybody really does. And it's an organic state to seek autonomy from the mother, find ways to differentiate ourselves from the mother, normal. So we find things we don't like about our mother so that we can be totally different from her. But what happens with that is, in that natural phase of autonomy and of individuation, that's the moment we start rejecting our own feminine within as well.
Yeah.
So it's tricky. But there's a lot of healing in the mother, not only for society, but in ourselves. And one thing that one of my teachers told me was, I was mad at my mother when I should have been mad for her.
Mm.
Because again, we're all here in this space,
Yeah.
you know? So that's the mother. There's 5 archetypes. I don't know how much time we have, but I could get into them all.
Well, we're gonna have to, if you're okay with it, I would love to do a part two,
Yeah.
and dive deeper. And I'm certain that the audience and that all of the listeners and the whole wave family that I've created and cultivated through people like you, would absolutely love a part two of this. So I'd love, um, we'll go another few minutes here. So whatever you want to make sure that we address in the next few minutes is the most important.
I think it's important to realize that the different 5 aspects of the mother, within these 5 aspects, there's one in particular that really rules our subconscious, and she's the death mother. And the death mother's doing the bidding on behalf of the patriarchy. And the death mother aims to keep us small. She aims to keep us in the spaces of the known. You can really think of the death mother as Medusa. She turns
Mm.
you to stone. She concretizes the metaphor of life, which is the mystical essence of the feminine. And what happens is we have this death mother. You can also call her the adversary voice. Even if we want to, I deal with women's rites of passage. So I very much use the mother tongue in my languaging. But the death mother is also the adversary voice that aims to keep us small, that aims to
Mm.
keep our maiden forever young. She's not good enough. She's not doing it right. Da 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 da. And this really runs the ship, and kills us inside,
Mhm.
you know. And so I really invite just a level of understanding that this is conditioning, and there are 4 other archetypes under the mother
Mhm.
that will never completely silence the death mother, because we don't want to castrate pieces of ourselves. We actually want to bring them to consciousness so that we can integrate them. But what we want to do is we want to strengthen the other 4 archetypes of the mother: the cherishing
Mhm.
mother, the dark mother that kills on behalf of new life to form,
Mhm.
you know, the inner mother, where we actually get to create based on the mothers that we've had. We get to create the mother that we want to be to ourselves and then to the world. And
Wow.
then the great mother. And all of those other 4 archetypes always come back to the great mother, which is the mother of all, the void from which we were all born,
Mhm.
the womb space, the earth beneath our feet, the cosmic goddess above. It's really an aim to lessen the dissonance between our own inner mothers, earth as mother, and the great cosmic mother above. And that dissonance is what we would call the triple mother wound, that pretty much everyone in society is walking around with a triple mother wound. So getting in touch with your maiden, identifying the death mother within, cultivating this inner mother that holds yourself and the world in wholeness, and welcoming wisdom through aging of the crone.
Wow. So much there. And yes, like you said, I feel like you and I could talk about this for days on end right now, because it's beyond fascinating and so beautiful. And at the same time, within all of us, it's not like, okay, well, you and you understand this. It's like, no, how amazing could it be if we could all spend a little bit more time being in the questions and diving into the depths of our own self and what
Mm.
we've learned. And really, I mean, that just, yeah, I think I agree with you 100%. I wish for all of us, and I want, and I will continue to put forth content like this, because I think it's really majorly important that we start questioning the
Mm.
whys deeper than just what one person, book, or parent has told us, right? To ask those questions from a place of true understanding, to bring conscious awareness to it. And so I thank you for bringing that up. And now, as we talk about the mature feminine leadership, you and I, we've kind of touched on kind of what our missions are. And I love that, this is the beginning for you and I of collaborating in many ways. And I'm very excited to share with everyone that I know what you're doing. And I can't wait. I'm going to go download the first mini course that you had talked about earlier today, because I'm really looking forward into diving into that myself.
Mhm.
Is there, I know you had mentioned to me earlier that you have just started some one-on-one programming. Is that true?
Yeah, so I've been cultivating this one-on-one programming through doing some betas with groups as well as
Mhm.
individual clients. And everything that I just spoke about is a lot of material. And so it's like, don't worry, because it's bite size within my coaching program.
Right.
Um, and and we do have to take it slow,
Mhm.
because it's called titrating the medicine. We don't want to overdose. We
Right.
only want to give ourselves what we have the capacity to kind of hold right now in this moment.
Mhm.
Once it's integrated, then we can move on to the next. But all of this material is very much ironed out in my one-on-one coaching program that just went live. And this is like years of material that I have just been drinking myself, implementing in my own life before being able to speak it, and deliver it to other women that I'm just so passionate about. I'm so passionate about. And I feel like, again, this is archetypical work. They're energies
Mhm.
that live within us all. And so men can do this work too.
Mhm.
A little bit tricky for men just because we've got to get out of the gender bias and just
Right.
understand their energies, right? So yeah, my one-on-one coaching program is now live. I am only taking 5 clients for May. That's it.
Okay. Okay.
Because it's a lot of material to deliver, even on me, right? Because I'm learning through your story, right? I have the
Mhm.
material, but how does it apply to you and your
Yes.
particular story? This is a process of individuation, and everyone's healing journey is going to be different. These are just archetypes that live into the collective conscious that we can tap into along the way, you know?
I love that. Okay, so you all heard this now. She has 5 spots available in May. So be sure check her website out. They can sign up through your website, I'm guessing, or at least book something with you there. And Melanie, as we wrap this up right now, what would you say to someone who is listening to this, who has who is totally aware in this moment, like, wow, I've been conditioned my whole life to believe certain things or to feel certain things, and just has a breakthrough hearing this, where would you suggest someone starting to look into and shine light on their spiritual journey?
Well, the masculine and feminine attributes course, I think, is really good. Yeah.
Okay.
The aspects of divine creation is very expansive. So it takes some capacity to hold these concepts in a more generic sense, because I talk through the deities of Eastern mythology. And then my one on one coaching program, I actually have 3 packages. I also do somatic healing. I'm a somatic breathwork facilitator. I do holographic sound healing. I work with Sanskrit mantra, and I also have tailored meditations for this work. So you can just buy the somatic package so that we can just start really diving into the innate wisdom of your body that's already there, and start processing some of that just using sound and breath and
Yeah.
meditations. So that's a really nice starter kit. And that's kind of why I
Hmm.
created the somatic experience, just so that we can start unlocking the body in different places. Because again, if we're trying to digest the material up here, that's what we've been doing our whole life. That's also part of the programming that we're kind of instructing.
The things we're trying to unwrap. Yeah,
Exactly. So the point is to start getting into the wisdom of the body. And if you don't,
absolutely.
I'll just say one thing: there's more neural pathways in the stomach and in the heart than there are in the brain. There's so much wisdom in the body. So let's
Yeah.
get back into the body, the emotional body of the feminine.
Ugh.
Um, yeah, and then you can sign up for my wait list, where I'm actually doing there's a second package where we do the somatic experience, but then it's like an 8-week video course. So just kind of digesting the material, not as it relates to your story, but just possibly intellectually, I guess you could say.
Mhm.
Then we can move into the one-on-one, really diving into your story on your journey to wholeness.
Yay. Melanie Joy, thank you so very much for being here today. It has been an absolute pleasure and honor to have this time with you, to be able to celebrate life with you and really dive into some beautiful elements of spirituality that I really see day in and day out are not openly talked about enough. And I hope to facilitate making some room for that and space for that. So thank you once again, Melanie. I appreciate you. I can't wait for part 2. Are you down for part 2, girl?
Absolutely. All the listeners tell us based on today, maybe drop in the comments what resonated with them and what they want us to expand on. Because
Yes.
it's such depth work. There's so many avenues to go with these archetypes and stuff. So yeah, comment below and let us know what you want to hear.
Yes, please. Okay, well, that's it for us on What's the Word today. So here we are. Be sure to follow Melanie Joy. You can find her on Instagram. I'll be linking everything to that with her website. And Melanie, I can't wait to connect with you again soon. I hope that you have a beautiful rest of the day, whatever you do. And thank you again.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining me here at What's the Word. Follow us on social media with the links on the screen, and don't forget to like and share with your friend. Your support helps us grow and continue to make inspirational content. See you next time on What's the Word.